Aficionado, fashionista, foodie, sneakerhead, no matter what you're into, go all in. Because the greater the obsession, the greater the reward. Introducing the new Lexus IS, a result of Lexus's obsession, all in on the sports sedan. Learn more at lexus.com/IS.
It's Rock Auto. All the parts your car or truck will ever need. They want to help you. 2 goals in mind. Give you direct access to all the parts information hidden in the computers and catalogs behind the parts store counter. Second, they want to make those parts affordable. They offer reliably low prices. At rockauto.com, choose the part brands, prices, features you want anytime. They're there for you 24/7. rockauto.com. Parts delivered directly to your home or office. You don't waste the time phoning, driving, waiting in lines. Make sure you tell them we sent you. rockauto.com.
You are listening to the Dan Patrick Show on Fox Sports Radio.
We've talked about Pokemon, Post Malone, Russell Wilson, Hootie and the Blowfish, Tiger, barbecue. I think that's it over the first 2 hours. What's next? Well, in the final hour, somebody's joining us to pay up on a shower of shame. I don't know if our guest knows that the reason why we're having him on is he has to pay up on a shower of shame because Carson Wentz got traded. We'll have that for you coming up. Final hour, phone calls, welcome, 877-3DP-SHOW. Spent a lot of time talking about Russell Wilson in the first hour. I don't think he'll be traded, but I do think that if I'm Seattle, I probably have a conversation with him to say, are you all in on what we're doing here? And if not, then we will at least explore options here. But I think Seattle is still made to win now. Pete Carroll is 70 years of age. That's important to factor in as well. And are you going to be a passing team like most teams are? Or are you going to try to be balanced, or are you still going to be a running team and play defense? I think you got to kind of figure out who you are and have the Seahawks evolved with everybody else in the NFL. You know, they don't have a running back the way the Titans do. They don't have a running quarterback the way the Ravens do. Who are you offensively? And I don't know if you can answer that, because what we saw in the first half of the season is not the same team and same offense we saw in the second half of the season. But if Russ wants to go to one of these 4 teams, if he's traded, he's already got that list there. And I was told earlier in the show that he's had that list, and the Seahawks were aware of that list when he signed his contract extension. But I don't know what is happening today. In the building, that's what I want to know. I'd love to know what that's like. Hey, Russ, want to stop by? Sure. What are we going to talk about? What's the GM, John Schneider, doing today? What's Pete Carroll doing today? Is this an opportunity? Now, you've got a GM you just extended. I don't know how long Pete Carroll's contract is. But if I'm Seattle, I explore the possibility of moving on from Russell Wilson, because he's going to be 33 this season. This is a guy who's getting sacked at least 40 times in each of the last 8 seasons, at least 40 times. The future is now, but if you're Seattle, do you start to look down the road and go, can we get somebody? Can we get a Band-Aid quarterback? Can we get some draft picks in here? Because I still think that this was a team that was seriously looking at Josh Allen a couple of years ago. All right, McLovin, update the poll results if you can, please.
Where will Russell Wilson be next year? Seattle is leading, and then the Saints.
All right. Well, I understand the Saints. If I'm Sean Payton and all of a sudden Drew Brees goes into TV and we got an opportunity to upgrade, Russell Wilson is an upgrade for every one of these teams. Chicago Bears. If I'm the Bears, I whatever it is, I rent a plane and, I write in the sky, the Bears love Russ, and go to Seattle and do it. Go over his house. Fly over his house and just say the Bears love Russell Wilson. Russ would go to Chicago and without throwing a pass would be the greatest quarterback in Bears history. Just the fact that he considered the Bears is one of the great moments in Bears quarterbacking history. Not that he goes there, because you have Jim McMahon winning a Super Bowl, and that's about it. Unless you go back to Sid Luckman. Yeah, McLovin.
Who's that kid who filled in for Jay Cutler when Jay Cutler didn't want to go into the game? That was a high moment.
Caleb Haney?
Yeah, that was good for a quarter.
Okay, so one of your greatest moments is when a guy who's a backup that nobody has heard of since or before that goes in and replaces Jay Cutler. That's one of your great moments?
It's slim pickings.
You got Eric Kramer you can throw in there. Jay Cutler. They haven't had anybody throw 30 touchdowns in a season, I don't think. They haven't had a quarterback throw for 4,000 yards in a season. The famous line was, the Chicago Bears where wide receivers go to die. Yes, Paulie.
You're correct on those stats. It's 2021, and the Bears have still not had a 4,000-yard passer. You said yesterday that 4,000 is kind of the benchmark for any starter. Their best passing season touchdown, they've only had 3 seasons where a quarterback threw more than 25 touchdowns in a season. Eric Kramer and Jay Cutler twice. Their best year ever for quarterback yardage-wise is Eric Kramer, 3,800 yards.
And this all started when Russ came on our show, and then I think that alone was, got people's attention. But when I had a source who contacted me after the interview and said, hey, just so you know, this relationship with the Seahawks in its current form is not sustainable. That's when it took on a life of its own. Because then all of a sudden, that interview turned the NFL on its ear. Because people then wondered if Russ is available. And they've had more than 10 teams inquire about Russell Wilson. I don't know if they're returning calls. The Texans aren't even returning calls. I think the report I saw, Tom Pelissero said that teams are leaving voice messages. Hey, it's Jimmy Lipper from Carolina. We're interested in Deshaun. We'll give you call us back. I still don't understand the Texans' strategy because at some point these teams have to move on and go, we can't get him. He's not available. What are we going to do in the draft? Or is there a free agent or is another quarterback available? I would just open it up. I'd just open it up just like Detroit did and say, give me your best offer for Deshaun Watson. Yeah, Paul.
Okay, here's a deep theory on the Texans. Right. What do the Texans think to themselves? Okay, we're not going to trade Deshaun Watson, and he may sit out next year. If he sits out next year, we're terrible. We're an awful team. J.J. Watt's gone, the wide receiver's gone, and we may have a top 3 or 4 pick in the draft, and then we trade Deshaun Watson. Could they think that deeply, that far down the road? Because they've been told he would not show up next year, basically. That's what all the reports say.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to understand a team that is, well, the whole franchise has been a state of confusion here. Even though they have won. I think through it all, now we never view them as a true playoff team. They get into the playoffs, but it's usually that Saturday noon game where nobody's watching. It's like a play-in game for the playoffs when the Texans are involved. It's like, oh, it's a nice little story. Well, somebody had to win the AFC South. Oh, all right, it's the Texans there. They've had success, but this to me is a rebuild with the Texans. But you have a coach who's 65. He didn't come in for a rebuild. I mean, he's happy to have his first head coaching job, but David Culley was probably coming in going, part of the reason why we're bringing you in is to keep Deshaun Watson. So I don't know what's going to happen with the Texans, but if you know he doesn't want to stay there, do you want it to be ugly? It hangs over the team. It hangs over the franchise. The media focuses on the Texans. The negative things. Yeah, McLovin.
I'm just picturing an alternative where they can convince him to go to New York and Zach Wilson is the Texans quarterback. Like, what's that picture look like?
I don't know if he wants to go to the Jets because he doesn't want to go to a rebuild.
Yeah, say they convince him, say, like, this is the best we're going to do. I know you want to get out of here. Go to New York or... I
would say no.
How about Miami and then Houston has Justin Fields or Trey Lance or... I'm asking, can Houston? Is there any? If you're Houston, would you want to build around a rookie?
Oh, if I'm Houston?
Yeah, I'm saying
yes.
from Houston's standpoint.
Oh,
Well,
yes.
Yeah. So why don't they just say, listen, Deshaun, we'll get you to another team, but we need like a Zach Wilson in return.
Well, if you trade him to the Dolphins, you can get Tua, and you can get the third pick overall, and you could parlay that into. Now, I'm not sold on Tua as a franchise quarterback. I got to see a little bit more. But you could get Devontae Smith. You could even trade that pick and get a little bit more. But at some point, there's diminishing returns, and that's where the Texans have to look at this as a business and say, yeah, I know, I'm going to be the GM who traded away Deshaun Watson. Okay, you could also be the GM who said, oh, I held on to him too long. I think at some point you have to go, let's do what's best for us. And then hopefully Deshaun Watson says, okay, I'll go to that team. Yeah, McLevin.
Is it Nick Caserio, their new GM? Isn't he the one who watched Tom Brady walk out of the building? Maybe he's scarred from that in New England. I don't know. That's the other thing. Do you know anything about? Have you heard reputation-wise about what Nick Caserio is all about?
All I know is the Texans keep trying to be the Patriots of the South, and it doesn't go well. We're going to hire one of their coaches. We're going to hire another one of their coaches. We're going to hire their GM. You should have hired Brady. Maybe that would have helped. But we're going to look back the 2021 offseason and think, that was crazy. Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, keeping the media busy. And we're here at the end of February. What's going to happen after the combine, getting ready for the draft, after the draft? And so, change is happening so fast in the NFL. And at that position, the quarterbacking position. But I go back to Tom Brady empowered other quarterbacks in the league. If you have the ability, you have the leverage, you have the clout, take advantage of it. That's what Brady was able to do. DP Show newsletter available daily at 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific. Sign up, danpatrick.com. The Players' Championship, PGA Tour's very best. That will be at TPC Sawgrass, and that'll be coming up March 13th and 14th on NBC. A couple of phone calls in here. Lucas in Texas has been holding. Hi, Luke. What's on your mind today?
Hey, Dan. How you doing?
Good, sir.
Hey, wanted to follow up a little bit with this very important topic of barbecue. You had this the so-called analyst on a day or two ago, Mr. Wrong, I believe. And just so you know where I'm coming from, ever since I was 2, my dad's run a little barbecue store in East Texas, so I've grown up with this stuff.
Okay.
I want to use your own logic against you from earlier this week. When you guys were discussing restaurants, one of the things you said was the wider a menu of a place, the more you'd probably say, well, they're probably not doing a lot of stuff very good overall. Well, a quick Google search will show you that the thing that Kansas City is known for is its, quote, wide array of meats and sauces. So I'll let you make the inference from there. And I want to say my dad, he could always put it well. He said, son, you can always cover up crappy barbecue with a cheap sauce. So let me just say, Texas barbecue is so good that Fritzy will skip Panda Express and go get that. It's so cool.
Wow.
It's so,
Lucas, what's the name of your dad's place?
He opened up a place called Bodacious Barbecue and then turned it into All-Star Barbecue, which covered floor to ceiling with Houston Astros gear.
Oh, cool. All right. Is he still running it?
He is. He's at work right now, so I think he's trying to listen in because I said, hey, they're talking the Holy of Holies on DP today.
Yes, Paulie.
All-Star Barbecue, South Dickinson Street in Rusk, Texas, Dan. There's Astros gear all over the place.
All right.
Rusk, Texas.
Hell yeah.
All
and
right.
let me just say, I'll finish it out. Not only would Fritzy love it, it's so cool that McLovin would wear the hat. It's so new age that Seton could compare tasks with the pitmasters, and it's so advanced and scientific that it would actually make Paulie want to attend and stay and pay attention to college. That's how good Texas barbecue is.
All right. Well, thank you, Lucas. Good luck to your dad down there. I don't have any, stake in the game.
I see what you did.
I'm just, thank you, Todd.
He's got us all covered there. He's got the stuff for all our personalities and qualities and the Astro stuff, everything.
Thank you, Todd.
Welcome.
So you don't have a beef with any of these takes?
I know. No, but it's a saucy topic.
Slow burn.
Are you ribbing me?
Nick Wright feeling a burnt end right now.
Oh,
Nice.
ouch.